Conservative activist and Turning Point USA co-founder Charlie Kirk was fatally shot during an event at Utah Valley University, UVU, this afternoon. He was 31 years old. Kirk was on stage, hosting his Prove Me Wrong table as part of American Comeback Tour, when a single gunshot rang out around 12:10 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time from a building approximately 200 yards, around 180 to 200 meters away. Witnesses recount a chaotic scene, blood visible, people fleeing, with one noting blood pouring everywhere. Kirk was quickly taken to a nearby hospital by a security detail. Reports later confirmed he died from his injuries. Initial reports indicated a suspect was in custody, but authorities later clarified that the person detained was not connected to the shooting. The suspected shooter remains at large. UVU immediately locked down and evacuated the campus. Classes were canceled, and students were escorted off by law enforcement. President Donald Trump confirmed Kirk's death in a Truth Social post, calling him great and legendary, and urged the nation to pray. Vice President J.D. Vance and U.S. Senator Mike Lee of Utah also posted messages offering prayers and condolences. Other prominent figures, including California Governor Gavin Newsom and former Vice President Kamala Harris, condemned the violence, calling it reprehensible and stressing that political violence has no place in the country. The death of Charlie Kirk in this tragic shooting at Utah Valley University has left the nation grappling with grief, shock, and uncomfortable truths about the state of American society. At only 31, Kirk's life was taken in a moment that was supposed to be about dialogue, debate. Kirk was a polarizing figure. As the founder of Turning Point USA, he spent more than a decade shaping the conversation on campuses across the country. He was celebrated by supporters as a bold voice for conservatism and sharply criticized by opponents who disagreed with his worldview. Yet whether admired or opposed, his influence was undeniable. His presence energized a generation, sparking conversations that extended far beyond college auditoriums. This is what makes his death so deeply tragic. Political disagreement should never end in bloodshed. A stage meant for words turned into a crime scene marked by panic and fear. Students and attendees came expecting argument and dialogue, but instead bore witness to violence that will leave scars long after the cameras leave. The tragedy extends far beyond politics. It is a human loss, of potential, of leadership, of a man who still had decades ahead to evolve, to challenge, to inspire, and even to be challenged himself. The sudden finality of his death robs his family, his colleagues, and his followers of a future they had counted on. It also robs the nation of the opportunity to engage with him in the ongoing debate about America's direction. Kirk's death is also a warning. It forces us to look closely at the climate of political hostility that now defines too much of public life. When sharp disagreement hardens into hatred, and when hatred translates into violence, everyone loses. We are left with silence where there should have been dialogue, absence where there should have been presence. In this moment, the most important thing we can do is to resist the temptation to let this tragedy deepen division. Instead, we should allow it to remind us of the values we claim to hold dear: freedom of speech, the sanctity of human life, and the responsibility to resolve differences through words, not weapons. Charlie Kirk's death is not just the end of one man's story. It is a mirror held up to America, reflecting back the urgency of our need to choose dialogue over destruction. If there is any meaning to be taken from this senseless act, it is that we cannot allow violence to define our politics.